Welcome to the Italian Wine Podcast. We are thrilled to be presenting a 7-part series with our fantastic partner, Maze Row Wine Merchant. We are proud to present this series of interviews, diving deep into the heritage and legacy of Maze Row's excellent Italian producers. Tune in every Saturday from March 5th through to April 16th. As we take an intimate look at these respected historic producers and their role as part of the Maze Row family of luxury wines. And remember to check out our YouTube channel, Mama Jumbo Shrimp, for incredible video content featuring a visit to Argiano.
My name is John Irwin. I work with Maze Row Wine Merchants in the United States. We are an importer of wonderful wineries, estates, a curation of incredible producers. And one of those that we are honored to import is Argiano in the US. And joining me today is the CEO and winemaker of Argiano, Bernardino Sani. Bernardino Sani has been with the Argiano estate in Montalcino since 2010. Transitioning to CEO and winemaker over time and bringing the estate some of the most acclaim that it's ever had, specifically as he returns to a more elegant style of Brunello di Montalcino and an ever improving and just beautifully powerful expression of Super Tuscan called Solegno. So Bernardino, thank you for joining us today. I just want to go ahead and get started. I just want to say, can you give us a little history of the Argiano estate to get us situated?
Hi, John. Hi, everybody. Good evening, everybody. And it's a great pleasure to be here. And yes, let's speak about Argiano. The history, as you know, is very deep. The estate, like it is now, dates back to the 1580. So there's really a lot of history on its back and has been going through different owners, different family. Pretty much all the most important noble families from Italy has been owning Argiano in the times, because it started with the Pecci family from Siena, the ones who built the castle of Argiano, then the Gaetani Lovatelli from Roma. They had 2 popes in the family. Then the Cinzano Marone from Piedmont, and then eventually in 2013 it was sold to an amazing family, not a noble one this time, but an amazing family from Brazil, the Esteves family. And with them, it started a big project, all dedicated to the renovation, restoration of the place. Not only the castle, but we started from the vineyards, then the cellar. Then we really wanted to put a lot of attention on making a terroir-driven classic Brunello di Montalcino that tells you about the place. So we worked a lot in the cellar, and then it has been completed now, the restoration and renovation of the castle with the gardens, the Italian gardens in front, and the main house, and especially the beautiful original cellar from Renaissance time.
Yeah, we spent a little time together, and for the first time, I was able to see those incredible Italian gardens. Is that the last piece of part of the restoration of the estate, or will there be more projects that you guys are going to do?
Well, John, there's a lot of ideas and projects going on, but so far that is the last piece that was missing, as the castle is now fully restorated and renovated, and everything gets on place, and is doing. We are very happy in this moment, because we didn't do something new, something that apported a big changement to the place, but it's like bringing back to its original splendor a beautiful thing. So we are very proud of what has been done so far in Argiano, and of course many more things will come, especially in the vineyards, but so far we are happy with that.
So I want to get to the vineyards piece, that rich history going back to 1580, but I mentioned, sort of hinted at the beginning, that maybe one of the most important moments in Argiano is actually current. and 500 years of history. Can you believe it, Bernardino? You're one of the most important aspects of the last 500 years. And I've told this story many times, but I think Argiano has done a lot over since you've joined the winery, since that ownership changed hands to the Estevez family. Can you talk about what specifically has changed in the winemaking and the farming over the last 10, 12 years?
So when we started to think at what was needed to be done in Argiano, we immediately thought that the most important thing were the vineyards. So beside deciding to be organic, and mostly because we wanted to avoid pesticide and chemical fertilizers and push our roots of the vines deeper down in the soil to get more of the terroir sense. And beside that, we started a project of micro-mapping all the vineyards of Sangiovese, trying to find out the best spot, the best parcels of Sangiovese and Brunello di Montalcino, and we started to wine make them separately. We restored completely the Vigna del Suolo, that is the most important vineyard, in our opinion, of Argiano, because it's the oldest vineyard of Sangiovese, with all clones of Sangiovese, with all clones of Brunello, and is the vineyard that has the soil that is one of the most complex and interesting one. It's a soil that is a mix of clays and limestones, and especially when the roots goes down, and they go down for meters in the Vigna del Suolo, you really get an extraction of the limestones, and those result in great complex, fresh, longevity Brunello. And so the vineyards are the most important part, not only because we wanted to make terroir-driven Brunello, and Brunello that tells you a lot about the place where we are, but the most important thing is that in these times of global change, global warming, and weather change, very dramatic sometimes weather changes, having the vineyards in good balance with the environment and changing something in the way we do the viticulture, really it's super good in order to have fresh, bright acidity in the wine, and longevity in our Brunello.
So there's a lot to unpack there, from the idea of how farming affects that finished wine. But when did your project to start organics begin?
So we started to try the organic practice in the Vigna del Suolo since 2012, and we started to be fully organic in 2012 in our vineyards management, and in 2015, sorry. And then from 2019, we are certified organic producers in the vineyard.
Okay. So Argiano is about 57 hectares under vine. Is that right?
Yes, 58. And 20,
58.
20
Okay.
so 40 hectares are Sangiovese for Brunello di Montalcino, for Rosso di Montalcino, and a little bit of IGT. And then we have around 18 hectares of French varieties, Cabernet Sauvignon mostly, and then Petit Verdot and Merlot. We did plant some new vineyards in Guyot style, as we believe that in this time, I don't want to go deep in details, but there's a difference between managing the vines in, I don't know, in Cordone Speronato, or in Guyot, or in other ways. And we believe that Guyot is the way that in this historical moment assure you the freshness in the vines, and assure you to have always, pretty much always, great quality in the grapes.
And what is the fundamental difference between planting to Guyot and spur or cordon, I should say? So it's the cane, and then how does that sort of affect the finished wine?
So yes, John, is the cane, and is the fact that with Guyot you always have fresh wood each season and growing wood, and so this helps a lot in maintaining a little bit more of freshness and acidity in the grapes. And beside that, the Guyot method of training, it's a much more assure much more longevity to the vines. Saying that, spurred cordon, we have it also in Argiano, and it's a great qualitative method, and especially in some vines and in some old vines, assure a lot of complexity and a lot of concentration in the grapes. So you probably need them both, and also is different the way you work in the vineyard, and in some cases the Guyot require a little bit more of work, manual work, but we're very happy. And we are trying and we are experimenting because we want to face the changements we see in the climate.
I see. Okay. I asked about the total hectareage under vine because I wanted to establish the context that you've been mentioning Vigna del Suolo, or the Suolo vineyard, which is a 4.4 hectare parcel on your estate. You mentioned it has the most complex soil structure, and it also is the source of your single parcel bottling Vigna del Suolo, which you only release in top vintages, about 5,000 bottles. And so the first release was in 2015. The second release was in 2016. I believe you just have a few library bottles for posterity in the estate for the 2017 vintage. Is that right?
Yes, it's right. And you know why? It's not because the 17 was the quality of Vigna del Sole wasn't there. Actually, it was the best vineyard even in the 17. But the 17 has been one of the driest year ever. It didn't really rain until November by us, and so we had a loss of production of around 35%. And we needed to use the Vigna del Suolo completely in the blend of Classico Brunello in order to guarantee the quality and also the quantity, because we didn't have enough Brunello and we needed the quality of Vigna del Suolo to go in the Classico Brunello blend to guarantee the freshness, the complexity, and the characteristic of a Brunello.
Yeah, the Brunello that you're making on the estate, I had the opportunity to try the 2017, as well as try a lot of other producers' 2017 over the past few days here at Vinitaly. And what is so remarkable about what you've achieved in the 2017 vintage, especially being in Southwest Montalcino, which is known for having warmer temperatures, is just how much freshness the wine maintains, a certain vertical structure on the acid that really makes the wine really gastronomic. But I have to say, I just want to mention, for anybody who's on the call right now in the clubhouse, or anybody who's listening to this podcast later, the Vigna del Suolo is a thrilling bottle of wine, nothing short than a thrilling bottle of wine. It has so much character. It is incredible in terms of its complexity and its aromatics. And the 2016 was awarded Red Wine of the Year by Gambaro Rosso, well deserved. And I think I just want to say, Bernardino, it's a testament. I mean, it's sort of this shining beacon for everything that you and the Esteves family have accomplished over the last 10 years. Along with I should mention, your agronomist, Francesco Manari. And I had an opportunity to be in the vineyards with Francesco last year, if you remember. And he told me about some really interesting things that you were doing. I mean, obviously you had the soil study and you're moving to organics and you're changing to Guyot, but also he mentioned, reducing planting density in some cases, as well as using sunscreen on the leaves. Can you talk about some of the other things that you're doing in the vineyard to help mitigate the incredible heat that's going on as the world gets a little bit warmer? Or I should say, as the world gets almost more tropicalized. Because, sometimes it can be really rainy vintages and sometimes it can be really hot vintages, depending on where you are.
Yeah. So it's interesting maybe to talk about what are the biggest challenge right now for making wines and to grow vines in Europe. I will say Europe and all over the world. The first thing is usually that the winter so cold and but is usually warmer and drier, and this means for the vines that they start the earlier the growing season. And then usually in April you have April, May, you can have still some days where it's colder, and you have the North Arctic winds arriving, and you can have some frost problems. Then in the summertime, usually you get a couple of weeks in the beginning of August, end of July, beginning of August, where it's really super hot, much more than it used to be. And then this is a the bad aspect, but the good things is that you usually have September, October that is fabulous. So before it was the opposite. The biggest challenges were in the fall. So September could be rainy, and October could be very cold and rainy, and this could damage the whole year of growing season and your harvest. Now is the opposite. If you arrive in August, in the end of August, with a good quality in the vines, in the plants, then you are pretty safe and sure that you can wait and start to see a beautiful ripening season in September, October. So the secret is to balance the vines in order to survive well and to pass well the very heat waves of that you may have in August, and then arrive in September prepared to have a fantastic end of the season. In our case, what we did, as you said, we increased a little bit the yield and reduced the density because we were no more looking for concentration. If 20 years ago you were studying that you needed to make 1 kilo of grapes for plant in order to have a great concentration, and basically one bottle of wine for plant, for vine, for single vine, in order to have great quality. Now in these times you need to make at least 1.5 kilos and have a little bit more for plant in order to have not too much sugar, not to arrive at 18 alcohol degrees, but to make a fresh and bright and clean wine. And so, beside that, as I was telling you, the fact that in August it can get super hot and you can have heat waves, we use a clay called kaolino that is gray and is totally organic, it's totally natural, and these reflect the sun. So this is very useful to prevent sunburn on the grapes, and also strong and makes the skins of the grapes even stronger and thicker. So it's a great help to spray that in order to prevent the grapes to get burnt and sunburnt by the very hot climate. And then you need to push to keep your soil very open, very fresh, not so compact, and in this case being organic and planting grass and flowers in the winter and springtime inside the fields is helping a lot. And you need to push your roots more down to get to escape from the dryness of the soils in the summertime. And in some cases when needed you need water. So we also made a lake in Argiano, and we dig a well that goes 250 meters underneath in the soil, and so we can have enough water for when it's needed.
Yeah. So in that Suolo vineyard, you're talking about the roots going down, and with vines that are 55 to 65 years old, they're deep, and so they have a lot of access to resources. But one of the other things that I found really interesting in spending some time in the vineyard with you and your agronomist, Francesco, was that you're working with what you think is a proprietary clone of Sangiovese. Can you talk a little bit about that and some of the research that's going into that?
Yes, so the that is a very interesting project, and what I love is to work with something that is really historical. Argiano to me is the history of Montalcino, is part of the identity of Montalcino. So I really love. To do this project because it tells about the history of Argiano. We are studying with the University of Tuscia, that is a very important university here in Italy. We are studying the clones of the Vigna del Suolo. We did an experimental vineyard replanting those clones, and we will start this year the first micro vinification of these different clones. We selected the best inside the Vigna del Suolo. We replanted, we replicated, replanted, and we are studying them. There are 6 of them in order to select the most representative one. Why we do this? Because those clones are not massive massale selection done in the years, and so the commercial clones that you find all over Tuscany and all over Montalcino. Those clones are the original ones that you could find and have in Montalcino 100 years ago when they started the production of Brunello di Montalcino. And those clones are the original one of Sangiovese Grosso that was in Argiano many years ago when they started the production of Brunello. So we will put a copyright at least on one clone that will be the Argiano clone of Sangiovese. Not because it's better than the other or worse than the other, but because it will be us. So it will be something very specifically made in Argiano and that you can find only in Argiano.
Yeah, this idea of better or worse, it's really just about what makes it the most unique. How does it express a certain place? I find that conversation about the clones and the work that you're doing there totally exciting, because when you have your own unique place, of course, but then it's not, terroir is not just about place and grape, it's also about time and how that grape changes to a specific location, and to have something that's molded to your specific vineyard, your specific estate over hundreds of years. It's pure, unfettered terroir, and that's probably a big reason why that Vigna del Suolo bottling is just so thrilling. But anyway, we've been talking a lot about Sangiovese, so I think we should also talk a little bit about the international varieties that are planted at Argiano. Can you remind the folks, you had mentioned it already, but can you remind everybody the international varieties that are planted and how you use those?
Yes, John. So we have Cabernet Sauvignon, Petit Verdot, and Merlot. So Argiano soils are different, of course, is in 58 hectares of vines. There are many different soils, but the main difference is we do have a part that is mostly clays with limestones, and there we have Sangiovese. And then we have some more alluvional soils on the board, and a part in the southern part of the estate that is more red clays. And there, in those alluvional soil and in the clays, there are more planted the French varieties. The history of Argiano is huge, and during a decade, a little bit more than a decade, they had one of the most iconic winemaker of Italy called Giacomo Takis consulting for them. So Giacomo was an iconic winemaker in Italy because he made some of the most successful wines of Italy. He started with Tignanello, then he did Solaia, then he did Terre Brune in Sardinia, then he worked for Sassicaia. He finally arrived in Argiano, and in 95 he started to make Solegno, that is a blend of Cabernet 50%, Merlot around 25, 20 Petit Verdot, so there's a lot of Petit Verdot in the blend, and 5% of Sangiovese. Beside Solengo, a little bit as we do Brunello di Montalcino and Rosso di Montalcino, and we want to make not a difference in quality, but a difference in taste there. So we want to make a Brunello that is complex, long aging, a big wine, and the Rosso di Montalcino that is super gastronomic, high quality Sangiovese. The same thing we want to make with the Super Tuscan. We have Solegno that is big, powerful Saint-Estèphe style of kind of Bordeaux style wine, and the NSC, the NC, that is also a blend of Cabernet Sauvignon with Merlot and Sangiovese, that is a more fruity, fresh expression of a Super Tuscan, more gastronomic maybe, and more easy to drink on everyday basis.
Yeah, it's the Solengo is a really exciting bottling, and the NC is also fabulous. The wines, how many hectares again do you have planted to international varieties versus Sangiovese?
So we have around 20 hectares of international varieties, and the rest is Sangiovese.
That's incredible. So I want to come back to the estate itself. So dating back to 1580, can you give us a little bit more detail? And I think this is really fascinating. Can you give us a little bit more detail on what the estate was like when you arrived, and what some of the specific things you did? And in this case, I know we've talked about the vineyards, of course, but in this case, I'm talking about the Villa Bellaria, which is at the center of the estate. What was that like when you arrived, and what have you done to change it since 2010?
Villa Bellaria has always been an amazing, beautiful place, but it needed a huge restoration, as for many years it was almost abandoned, as the family who lived there, Gaetani Lovatelli, did sold the property in the end of the 70s, and the new owners did develop a new winemaking facility in Argiano, but they didn't start the restoration of the villa. So basically two things were needed, and the first was the roof that was collapsing completely, and the second one was the cellar. The old cellar that was still used as a cellar needed huge restoration, because was full of water leaking, was full of molds, and was no more possible to use it as a good environment for aging the wines. So when we arrived, I said and preached to the owners to start thinking about at least moving the wines out of the old aging cellar, because it was not the greatest environment to age the wines. And so a new underground cellar was made to age the wine, and then we started to renovate and restore the Villa Bellaria. We started from the roof, then we did the walls, the facade, then we did the cellar, the old cellar, and then after all this was completed, we started to work in the offices that are in the main floor. We did a new and inside what was a bar room, we need a tasting room and restaurant. And we did the main house and the last floor of the Villa Bellaria with the art collection that is hosting a art collection. That is a private art collection, so we don't want to speak too much about that. But if someone visits Argiano, is invited to see it, as it's a beautiful collection from the times of the Villa Bellaria.
So only the people that are currently on Clubhouse will be able to view these Renaissance paintings. I encourage anybody who has the opportunity to visit Argiano. I had the great pleasure of being there last year. The only thing that I think wasn't done yet was the gardens, which were just completed. But it is a completely stunning jewel in Montalcino, 300 meters up, like a tabletop, overlooking Sant'Angelo and Colle in the southwest. We've talked a lot about Argiano, Bernardino, but for the folks on the call, I also want to provide some context to Montalcino in general, a little bit of knowledge on Brunello. I said that you're located in Sant'Angelo and Colle. How do wines from Sant'Angelo and Colle typically? How do they typically express versus wines from other parts of Montalcino? And then how does Argiano fit into there?
So it is a great question, and it's not easy to answer, as Montalcino has a different aspect. So it's a big hill with the village on top of a hill, and so naturally it has different sides and microclimates, southwest versus northeast, southeast versus northeast. And historically, the two main regions developed for winemaking were the southwest side, where we are, and the northeast, where other great producers are. If you want some more details about the producers in the southwest area, you have in our area close to us, you have Pieve Santa Restituta of Gaia, you have Soldera, you have Giacomo Caprilli, you have Argiano, and then down under us there is Banfi, there is on the right side Frescovaldi, on the left side Poggione. Then the last estates in the southern side of Montalcino are on one side Coldorcia, and on the other Antinori estate. On the northeast side you have Biondi Santi, you have Casanova de Neri, and you have Barbi, you have many other great producers. Montalcino is 24,000 hectares of lands, but only 2,000 are Brunello vines. So the vines are not planted everywhere, as it's happened usually in the very popular winemaking region, but they have been planted only where there is a good soil and where there is where it's easy to make high quality wines. So you have the most important aspect of these different regions in each winery. And do you hear me? Yeah. So
yeah.
In Argiano, it's easy to make very elegant wines, and it's easy to make balanced wines, because the soils are clays and limestones. The clays gives you the power, and the limestones give you the vertical taste, the complexity, and the long aging possibility. While in other part of Argiano, you have more clays, maybe only, but in the Brunello vines you have clays and limestones. Also, you have the altitude that helps you a lot, because we are 300 meters above the sea level. That is the average point that is in the middle of the hill, and is a good point to make balanced wines with a long aging possibility, and a lot of personality. And it is also a good part of Montalcino to make wines that from the beginning are approachable, because it's true that the tannins are a little bit softer. This doesn't mean that they are not able to age long, but it means that they are more digestible from the beginning. You have other areas of Montalcino where concentration, especially in the tannicity, is a little bit more important, and this helps a lot for making great wines also, but more long aging, more structured, maybe in the beginning a little bit more hard to digest. But it's not really about only the position, because it's really about the winemaking style. It's about kind of soils that in Montalcino change a lot. So it's a lot of different aspects that then in the end makes the characteristic of the wines.
Yeah, we were at the Brunello de Montalcino Consortium, and we tasted through several wines. And I was surprised that I couldn't quite nail down a style based on geography. It did really seem to come down to, and maybe that's because of the warmth of the vintage, but it did seem to come down to maybe even a specific house style and the kinds of wines that they like to make, in addition to where they're located in the region. So we have the 2017 vintage in the books. That's what's current release in the markets around the world. Can you give us a little bit of a preview of 2018, 2019 for Brunello di Montalcino specifically?
Yes. So the Brunello, the vintage 2019 and sorry, John, you say 2019 and
2018. The next couple of vintages. How does it look?
It's amazing for us because we have 18, 19, 20, 21st that looks great, and really when I say looks great is because it's you see the effect of the vintage with the effect of the investments done in the vineyards and in the cellar. So it's a double effect of the good vintages and great technical improvements and team improvements and attention in winemaking that year after year give results in the Argiano wines. And 18 is a vintage that I love for being classic, being a little bit close to the 13 vintage, for example, where you have an elegant style of Brunello, not too much concentration, as it was a pretty cool vintage. Then the 19 is kind of a perfect vintage as it was the 16. So you have a lot of quality and also good quantity, a lot of color, a lot of complexity, a lot of flavors. 20 is like the 15. It's powerful with great tannicity, but very soft and silky tannins and complex full body wine. 21st has been a very bad vintage for quantity because we had a frost in early May that reduced the quantity a lot, but quality speaking is an amazing vintage because the summertime was perfect and we also had some rains in the beginning of September and then a fabulous September month. So the ripening season was perfect. So it's great because in front of us we have can see the vintage effect, but also the effect of the hard work done by everybody in Argiano in the cellar for the past years.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning. Well, it probably doesn't get talked about enough, but you're also the CEO in addition to being the head winemaker. And so I know you have a lot of responsibility on your shoulders. But what is very evident is that you've done a wonderful job managing a pretty incredible team. And every time I get an opportunity to interact with any of them, they have nothing but wonderful things to say. So, you should probably also be celebrated for not just being a pretty good winemaker, Bernardino, but also a pretty good boss too. So, complimenti.
No. This is actually. John, is actually the most difficult side of the job of being the CEO, as it's more fun and easy and creative to be the winemaker, and so it's only thanks to the great team of Argiano and the great owners of Argiano that Argiano is doing pretty good. And especially I have to say, you mentioned him already, but Francesco is amazing in what he's doing in Argiano. Francesco, also Riccardo, my colleagues, everybody, but Francesco is really helping a lot in managing the estate.
Yeah, as I was joking with you guys, Francesco Minari is going to have to start traveling the world. His English is great. He looks great. He's got a lot to say. You need to kick your feet up, relax a little bit, because I know you've got a lot going on, Bernardino.
That sounds great. So you just have to convince him, as he doesn't like to travel. Is the people who are really obsessed with the work in the with the agronomical work, and they want to be always there. They want to supervise every single detail. So Francesco, it's easy to find him in the vineyards, but it's difficult to find him elsewhere. And especially if you ask him to have a lot of dinners and PR, then I think he will. At a certain point, he will quit. So I think easier to come to Argiano and find him in the vineyards, and then he will explain everything to everybody.
Yeah, I think there's something. I think there's something important in there about the quality of the wines that are being made out of Argiano, the quality of the farming, the passion that he brings to it. But he's able to bring that passion because he has incredible integrity about doing the best possible thing, not only for the winery but also for the sustainability of the environment. That's something we probably haven't talked enough about, but he's really passionate about. And I find it strangely comforting that he wants to stay in the vineyards. I think that's probably where he needs to be, despite the fact that he would be a pretty charming presence in the marketplace as well. Well, speaking of PR and marketing and spending time, I think you do these things with us, have these conversations with folks, and it's so greatly appreciated. But the thing that I want to stress is that this is just the window dressing to some really incredibly hard work that you do day in and day out at the estate in order to make increasingly elegant, increasingly complex, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful wines of place. And the Brunello di Montalcino is certainly a testament to that. The upcoming 2019 vintage of Solegno is absolutely a testament to that. And then, of course, that expression that I've already probably spoken too much about, which is Vigna del Suolo, totally thrilling wine. And whenever that vintage you decide to return to making Vigna del Suolo, maybe it'll be in the 2018, maybe it'll be in the 2019, but that'll be the number one bottle I look forward to tasting in the near future. Congratulations on all the success with the estate. Bernardino, thank you so much. Warm wishes. It was great seeing you this week, and congratulations and continued success.
Thank you, John. Let me say that it's thanks to people like you and the amazing partnership that we have with all of you in United States that we keep improving, because you need some. If you don't have inputs from outside, and if you don't have a great support as you are providing us, it's almost impossible to keep improving, to keep achieving good results in the winemaking. So thank you for all you are all doing, and Maze Row is an amazing project, and I'm sure will be amazing in the future, even more amazing in the future. So it's really an exciting moment for us to be part of this group, and so yes, you're right. It's Vinitaly ended. It's thanks to it. Also, congratulations to the organization of Vinitaly, because it was. I'm sure it hasn't been easy, but it was a great success, we can say, because I'm pretty exhausted, as you can feel from my voice. So this is a good sign.
Yeah, I know. That's probably the thing that I'm just so thankful for you spending time with us, because I can't even imagine how tired you are right now with the amount of people that were at Vinitaly, because it was such a great success. So thank you. Complimenti on all of your endeavors, and thanks for spending the time with us. Everyone, this has been John Irwin and Bernardino Sani from Argiano for Maze Row Wine Merchant, importer of wonderful wines in the United States. Thank you so much.
We hope you enjoyed our new Maze Row Wine Merchant series. The focus is on excellence, family, legacy, sincerity, and innovation. To learn more about Maze Row Wine Merchant and today's featured producer, see our show notes and visit their websites. Don't forget to subscribe and like our show and tune in to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your pods. Hi guys, I'm Joy Livingston and I am the producer of the Italian Wine Podcast. Thank you for listening. We are the only wine podcast that has been doing a daily show since the pandemic began. This is a labor of love and we are committed to bringing you free content every day. Of course, this takes time and effort, not to mention the cost of equipment, production, and editing. We would be grateful for your donations, suggestions, requests, and ideas. For more information on how to get in touch, go to italianwinepodcast.com.